I just don't think it's a good idea for a proposal on a homeless camp by my business. We fought this, I don't know, 15 years ago. I don't know who's going to secure it. Is there enough officers going to be running back and forth helping you guys, or what? I've had 30 or 40 homeless on that property already that stole from me for 20 days straight. Out of 30 days, they stole probably 20 days. And somebody's going to get hurt. Either I am or the homeless. And I think it's a bad idea. But there's other businesses around that's not just like me that's been robbed by homeless. I don't think it's a solution. Half these homeless they want to camp their own camps. Probably 90% of them want to put their own tent up, have their own fire. And I just don't think it's going to work.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I really do appreciate all that you do. It's not easy to run a city, even as small as ours. There's a lot of detail, and I appreciate your coming here. I was here last year when you came, and it really is a good presentation, but it costs $10 million. And just because we can spend $10 million doesn't mean we should spend $10 million. This is going to be a draw for more homeless people to come to Turlock. And we've already got enough problems as it is. The only things that I have ever heard in talking to people in different cities regarding homelessness is if there's a Christian-based group that comes in and helps with the same things that you've talked about, and it's not even coming from you, but there's got to be a different solution than representatives are supposed to spend our money wisely, and money doesn't grow on trees. It comes from we as taxpayers, and this just is not, it makes no sense to spend this much money. It's 4 times the square footage, it's just 4 times the amount that the average square footage is for homes, is what is being charged for this program. So please take that into consideration when you're making this decision. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Harry, can you beat one word? Oh, my bad.
Thanks, Madam Mayor and City Council. Appreciate what you guys do. Listen, I kind of evolved on this homeless thing over years, and I've had such compassion for them in the past. The one thing that I love to do is share the gospel with them and hopefully plant a seed, because most of them have heard it so many times they know the answers, so it's very interesting. I've noticed over the time, I've probably hired now maybe 8, 10 homeless people. They never last. They last about 5 weeks. All of a sudden they've got to do something and they're gone. But I've noticed that the quality of the homeless has gone down. We don't get anybody looking for a job anymore. We just get the ones that are looking for what they can steal, or where they can go to the bathroom in back of my building or on the bench. And so I just don't know. I don't know that this is the answer. I just don't. I think there must be a way to help reduce homeless. We've had homeless for 100 years or longer. And but why do they stick around? Have you thought about that? Why do the homeless stay now? Why do they stay in towns? You know? They do because they get everything free. They get free food, free sleeping, free clothes that they leave hanging all over the place. I would tell you that the chief has done a great job. I don't know if you noticed, but we have a lot less down our end than we used to have. I say give the 10 million to him. Anyway.
Harry for president. Right.
Huh?
I said Harry for president.
the Turlock Downtown Business people, not the PBID, but the Business Association, does a great job. I mean, I've seen some of the ugliest, dirtiest places I've ever seen, and they've got somebody to clean it up. It's dynamite. I think we need to figure out how to reduce, and maybe it's creating the very thing that he's creating before they get free food or free clothes, that they have to prove something. And I guess my question is, will it fix the problem? I just don't think so. And I would say before I spend $10 million, I want to know if it's going to work. So I hope you think about that. Thank you.
Dan Madden, still here? Oh, look at that. Welcome home. Look at you coming back.
Good debates, good discussions. Thank you for having me. Just a couple of questions. The on-site services, how much is that going to cost the city on a yearly total? And then you said that if they don't work out 6 to 9 months, you could get, or you could evict them. How does that work with squatter laws? And if any of you guys have been a landowner, you know how hard it is to get tenants out, especially in California if they don't want to leave. So how are you going to basically remove somebody because they're not up to par, whatever standards we set? And then you said you're going to have requirements, you're going to create lists, you're going to market to veterans and the seniors. On the on-site, I'm a veteran. What kind of on-site services you're going to provide them when it's mental health, PTSD, alcohol and drug abuse? Those kind of things are all going to get factored in. It's great that you have a grant to build it, but then if you can't maintain it, then what's left over is just going to be an empty bunch of empty buildings. That's concerning. And then yeah, the draw, is this going on? Like there's cities like San Francisco and Oakland with huge homeless problems. Have you guys built anything in those areas and tried? And what are the results there? I guess I'm just looking for, is the juice worth the squeeze? What's the return on investment? If we're going to put $10 million into a city for homeless workers, other things that we should be focused on, are we going to get a good return on the money? And is it going to be something that's going to make this city beneficial? We're focused on downtown and the benches and stuff and all that, which is great. I think downtown's great. Is this going to contribute to the betterment of the city, or is this just going to contribute to the builders and everybody associated with it, that they're going to make? Honestly, they're going to make a lot of money doing this. So I want to just speak up on behalf of the taxpayer on this one. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, first, thank you for the phone call conversation on Saturday night. I appreciate you calling me at 9:30 in your time, I think
Correct.
it was. So that was appreciated. And no matter what we say, thank you for what your efforts you're putting in. Okay. So, okay, many comments, many questions. It's really hard to believe that there's 50 individuals in Turlock who are willing to sign a contract saying, I want to get my you-know-what together and I will obey the rules and so on and so forth. It's just hard for us to believe that, okay? I mean, that's really what you're saying. You're saying that you're going to have this transitional housing, but only people who sign a contract who say, I'm done with drugs and all this other stuff and I'm going to do whatever. So that's kind of hard to believe. Number two, the city has already spent millions of dollars, more than $5 million on transitional housing in the past number of years. We can't get any information out of the city, haven't gotten it yet, in terms of how much money was spent, how that money was spent, and then what results that we got from the nonprofits that we gave all these buildings to, okay? As a matter of fact, I think we have about $2 million worth of properties that the city has purchased since 2020 that they're still hanging on to. Okay, so number one, it's kind of insulting that you have already spent $5+ million. You can't tell us how you spent the money. You can't tell us what the results are. But now you want to come back and you want to spend $10 million. Okay? In terms of, these are 7 foot wide on the interior. 7 feet wide. Okay? And they cost about $1,100 per square foot. The average cost of real estate in Turlock, including the land, is $300 per square foot. Really? Yes, it is. It's $300 per square foot. That's the average cost in Turlock for real estate. And you're talking about shipping containers 7 feet wide, $1,100 per square foot. This should have been pulled. It should never have been here. That is a total embarrassment. Just think of the names, what the title is going to be on every single one of you who vote yes. $1,100 per square foot.
Sir?
Hi, my name is James Neal. I was homeless out here on the streets for about 10 years. I slept out in front of this building a few times, and I got clean 2.5 years ago. And the way I got clean is my dad told me, you can't come back to this house until you are clean. He didn't say you can come into the house, then get clean and stuff like that. He said you can't come back to this house and see your kids until you are clean. Now, he said his facility is going to be good. He says there's going to be people watching it. Jail has cops everywhere, and there's more drugs in jail than there is out here on the streets. I never defecated in front of no one's place, just so you know, but I did live out here. One thing is, there is no bathrooms for the homeless to use at all. The stores, if you go in AM PM, they tell them, nope, get out if you're homeless. They know who the homeless are. But, the homeless steal from them, of course. So they don't want them in there. If you guys put a place next to Kelso's, that place is going to get robbed all the time. I was homeless, and I know what it's like, and I would love to stand up for them, but every homeless person I saw out there, they're all on drugs. Even the ones that have mental issues are on drugs. And there is people that go around once a month and ask them, hey, do you want to be in this program? Do you want to come to this facility? Christian ones and non-Christian ones. So I don't understand why they would want to go to your facility if they don't want to go to any other ones, because they're all free too. I was asked once a month at least, and they go around doing that. It's really easy to be homeless in Turlock. You can sleep wherever you want to, do whatever you want. They have, I don't know if they have the Ham Center no more, but across the street they got the Mission, I think it is, or something like that. You get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You get clothes, free clothes all the time. There's places to take showers. There's no reason, if I didn't have my kids, I would still be homeless. It was not hard to be homeless in town. People go around at least once a month. If you're at the park, people go out there and give you a bunch of food. I've seen the homeless go and get boxes of food, throw more than half of it away because they only want the sweets that are in it, Everyone I know out there gets a food card. They all get their EBT cards. Not one of them keeps it. There's about 3 people in the homeless community that own all those food cards because they sell them all to them. I used to sell my food card too. The first month of the month, I'll get my food card and I'll go out buy $100 worth of heroin. That's what I did. I did heroin and meth. Everyone out there, almost every homeless person, I didn't see one person out there that didn't do meth. And most of them either do meth or heroin and meth. So they're all addicted to it. And they don't want to get homeless. They don't want to become off the streets. They like where they're at. A lot of them don't go to the shelter because they either don't like to be in at a certain time. They don't want to have to get out early in the morning. And they don't care. It doesn't matter if you sleep out there. To you guys, I know it seems like crazy to sleep out on the streets. But once you're out there, for the first month it was hard for me. Then after that, all the homeless look out for each other, but they also rob each other. They also hurt each other, but they all look out for each other. They all give each other drugs, and none of them they're not going to come to this facility. They're not going to do it, and they're going to sell more. That place is going to turn into a drug den, is what it will turn into, to be honest. So that's all I have to say.
Anything else?
Hey guys, I'm Travis Regalo. I'm going to be very careful with how we proceed here. I hate getting into these aspects, but I do before you guys go forward. I'm just going to assume that's a yes vote, and I'm not saying that you guys are going to go for it. Let's say it's a yes vote. You're looking at $10 million for 50 people. It's a very hard thing to justify for the rest of the 99% of Turlock. That we don't allocate that kind of money for that produces results, that has a return in sales tax that comes back to the city that can just regenerate itself. So we're putting $10 million into a fund that potentially has a higher potential of not producing results than it does producing results. So my only request would be is if you go forward, I would hope that you have some way to monitor the results, request the results and the data, and make sure that you're actually getting something for that $10 million that's going forward that's trackable. I would hope that there is some sort of clause in there to back out of the agreement when 2 years go by and we realize that instead of giving us 50 beds to now be able to enforce codes, it's increased the homeless population to 500 people, which has happened historically not too long ago, right before COVID. There was talks of another thing similar, and I get that this is not emergency housing; it's one step up, which allows us to enable a little bit more enforcement. And that's the other question I would like to ask, and I know the police chief isn't here, but maybe the city attorney could, is what does the taxpayer get for this? The promise is that you guys are able to enforce some of the codes, but realistically, what are we able to enforce, and what are the potential problems that we run into if our homeless count is 100, which I'm not just using figures, it's 100, and next year we add 50 beds and now we can enforce our codes, but next year, because we had this homeless city here, and it gets around town fast because they'll travel here, and now we have 200 homeless and not enough beds. Are we in the same position? Now we have to spend another $10 million to increase our facilities. So those are questions I would have. I'm sure you probably have already answered them before, but I just want to make sure that we are able to track results and see where 10 million is going for 50 residents at a time.
Mr. Pishwalkis, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I mean, those are good questions. I mean, I think the results obviously should be tracked. And this is before my tenure here. I gave up decades ago in trying to understand the accounting of affordable housing projects and homeless projects. I mean, the Modesto Bee has been legion, right, in the articles of how apartment complexes in Modesto, cost $350,000 a unit, right? So I don't have any comment on that. It doesn't make sense to those who have to operate in, I don't even think I can call it the normal world anymore, but those who have to operate in the non-government subsidized world, right? So I don't have any good answers on that. It's just that's the nature of that beast, and it's always been that way. I personally have found it frustrating outside of my role as an attorney, so I don't have any answers for that part. But I think tracking it and making sure you get results. But again, I mean, I think it's always a chicken and egg problem, right? I mean, it's like what were, if there was a magic wand, I'd be happy to use it about how to revert to, 50 years ago when these problems weren't as prevalent, certainly not as visible, right? Although, if you read about the Great Depression and stuff, I mean, that there's a lot of homelessness and lots of things going on. So it's just, again, I'm going to shrug my shoulders and say it's legally very hard to navigate the whole thing. And so, but if anybody in Turlock thinks that we can just enforce our way out of this problem and that's the only way it's going to happen, that's not going to happen. You're just going to end up with a federal lawsuit, and you read about all kinds of federal lawsuits all over the country right now with all kinds of outlandish results. And all I'm trying to do is make sure we're not on that hit parade, and so while keeping things reasonable. Maybe, I mean, it's a good point. Maybe 50 is too many. Somebody said that, nobody, you can't get 50 people to turn their life around. But when other meetings we get attacked for not having standards at our shelters, and everybody can just show up and they don't have to agree to anything. Well, now we're getting attacked for transitional housing where people have to agree to do things and they can be evicted. And at least we have some we have some evidence that it's a better approach than what's been tried before. I mean, this is a choice between, I won't call them realistic alternatives. They're a choice between legal strategies combined with trying to help people who want help. Very difficult, because the legal strategy would be, I would say in Turlock, one approach a city attorney could take is, let's see, if our point in time count is 220, all the federal cases say, well, everyone knows the point in time count is undercounted. We had testimony, which is going to be evidence in court tonight, that 400 people come through every year in Turlock, right? Okay, well, under that calculus, give me multiple low barrier shelters with 500 or 600 beds or 800 beds, and the chief can enforce his municipal code to his heart's content. But I think I would be run out on a rail, and I don't think it's the appropriate legal answer, but to think you can do nothing is not the right legal answer either. So let me stop there. I've bordered on
Sir, in
pontificating.
the blue, come on up here, please.
So what you're saying
Hang on, just
is-
wait till you get the microphone, because people are watching.
So what you just said is you're going to have to track your results.
Yeah,
Because if you don't track your results, then
yeah.
the federal lawsuit's going to go, and you're not going to be able to defend it.
I'm a big
Right.
believer in, I think that if you track the interaction with the homeless population,
Yeah.
right? That's and the manager, we talked about it, the chief, and they're all supportive of it. If you track the interactions, that's the best thing you can do, because at some level, we talk about it in the abstract, that homeless and a lot of people, including me, my business is in downtown Modesto. I haven't had some of the most terrible stories, but I have friends who have it. We had to put a lock on our door because people would just burst in, and kind of be very aggressive with my staff and everything. So one of the things a city can do is, if you track the interaction by treating these people as people, so you kind of have to get to know them, and you need to know. You need to know the circumstances, right? And you need to know if there are mental health issues and drug issues and all of that. And if they refuse shelter, because like we heard, because they want a different lifestyle. Well, the federal courts haven't said that you get to refuse help and you get to do what you want,
the city
right?
would be incumbent on the city to be able to prove those things if they got sued.
You're
gonna have
you need
to-
a record.
You're gonna have to have a record. You're gonna have to.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to have a record of all the people who refused,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have your statistics on how many people you helped and how many people were in the bed.
I think that's an excellent summary. I wish I had given it. Yes, I think that's really great. And what the transitional project you're hearing about tonight is, and maybe 50 is too many or whatever, but it is, you have to have and by the way, I don't think it's too much based on what we've discovered about who's enrolled in a program and where they're at currently. But what it does is, I think it's very important that a community shows that if somebody does want to turn their life around, that there's a place for them to go. And that's where, I'd say we're not as robust as I think we want to be on that particular issue. But the frustration about the cost and I understand all that, believe me.
All right, has there been, go ahead.
Oh, wait, sorry. I think we're still open to the public.
Oh,
I had some follow-up questions
yes.
I wanted to ask that I
Come
know
on.
people are
Yeah, no,
thinking,
yep.
but they're not
Yep,
asking.
come on up.
Come on up, Debbie.
It's not her turn yet.
Hi, Debbie Hall Coftenow. I just feel like we have a lot of mixed messages that have been coming at us, and thank you. I think it's a great thing that you're trying to do, but we have been told we have spillover beds at the county. and that we will now be able to enforce the municipal codes because we have the beds available. I think it's Turlock Gospel Mission, they have 80 beds potentially, and they're not using those 80 beds. I've asked, and many of us have asked in the community, please think outside of the box. We've talked about Malibu. Where does it say in the Boise law that you have to provide beds in the city? Why are we not partnering with the $6 million navigation system that's to the south? I know it's a different county. And why are we not utilizing 26 service providers up in Modesto? There's low barrier shelters. There are resources all around. We feed 1,500 meals in Turlock a day. We have the beds available. We have lots of resources for the homeless, but we're getting lots of mixed messages from our city. And we had a program last year where you asked us to come and give our input, and I really feel like you're not listening to us. So thank you very much.
Anyone else before we close this?
Yeah, I'm kind of, Lori Smith here. I'm kind of in agreement with what Deborah said. I feel like, okay, on this sheet right here, it's saying for homeless veterans and seniors. Well, of course, nobody's going to say no to that. How many do we have? Do we know how many we have? I'm all for helping them. And then I hear families, and then I hear homeless. I feel like this is just thrown at us, and then we have this deadline by April 30th. You know, how many people in the public even know about this? I know we do because we're all kind of in the same circles, but how many know about it? I feel like you're saying this is what the community wants. I feel just the opposite. I was at that meeting too. I feel like, I'm part of that community, and this is not what we want. I feel like $10 million? Really? My kids are leaving the state because they can't afford a house. I'm like, how about helping tax-paying citizens with money with $10 million? I know it comes from different sources and stuff, but put that in perspective. A down payment on a house, how many people would that help? Versus 50, I know that issue would grow, that number would grow, but I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't think anybody here has been in support of it so far. So, hope you keep that in mind.
Gentleman way in the back, way in the back.
Okay, so I was at the last couple of meetings, and I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last
George.
name.
George is fine.
George, you brought up both times about the federal lawsuits and that sort of thing, and you just said now that there's nothing in the federal lawsuits that says if somebody denies or refuses service, that it's just okay for them to go ahead and do what they go and sit and do what they want to do. So that to me tells me you can enforce codes. They refuse service. If you're going to have something like this is only going to, the only way this would ever work is if they refuse it, then they have to leave. You're not here in Turlock anymore. That's a ride to the edge of town. Don't come back. Because you don't want help and you're just causing problems for us. You say you're trying to avoid the city being on a hit parade, from the federal lawsuits. So by us not enforcing anything, we're all the hit parade every day on a daily basis with that.
Right.
So I'll say it to you like I said it the last time. Enforce the codes, fight it. Fight the lawsuit. If they have the lawsuit, fight it. In the meantime, the police can enforce the codes, and like the homeless person that was here before, gentlemen, they all talk, they all know what's going on. So if they find out that Turlock doesn't allow you to be here, or there's, it's tough to be here, it's unpleasant to be here unless you want to help yourself, they're going to move on. And in the meantime, if you get a lawsuit, then that happens. We don't want that to happen, but this will never work unless you have an enforcement. That is, here's your option. You can go here or you can go away. So, and to me, it just, $10 million, I know it's a grant from the state, but it just seems like this is it's not planned enough, and maybe I haven't seen the your presentation from before. But, I guess my question to you, George, is at one of the last meetings, you had said something about a place in Merced. Was this the one that you were talking about?
I don't think this facility was up yet in Merced. I think it was, yeah. So,
Okay,
it's not
so there was
the one I
something else
saw.
that you were talking about,
But
that
it
you
was
said they
the-
had beds
it
and
was
it
the-
allowed enforcement.
That was probably the low barrier shelter, which I think one of the entities you're talking to runs that.
Right.
It's called different names, no barrier, low barrier. And what that is, that'd be a shelter with a pretty robust bed count that has all the it's kind of like this, except at the shelter level, at the entry level, where from my point of view, it takes care of a lot of the enforcement issues, because all the little factors that you get sued for, storage of personal property, where are the cars and the campers gonna go, we can't cohabitate, they put the beds together. I can't have my pets, they allow a crate, right? So our shelters don't operate that way, and that model in Merced, when I went down there, like the scales falling from your eyes, which is hard for a lawyer, right? But, you see it and you go, oh, well, yeah, that's how you address what all these august federal judges are telling us, right? So that's, but, that's why we mentioned it, but we didn't talk about it a lot. That's why we're trying to get there a little bit by giving the 2 emergency shelters this day center capacity that we talk about, because that allows them to operate more in the fashion of a low barrier facility without creating a new low barrier facility, because we've kind of heard, we're trying to balance all this input we get, right? And we're, getting to a place where we can do what you say, which is enforce. Because I tend to agree. I mean, others disagree. I think that, I think that America in 2022, we've sort of 2023. I'm sorry. It's easy to see what happens when you don't enforce any standards.
Right.
Right.
It just seems like it isn't planned out enough to make this kind of decision for this amount of money.
Yeah.
Like this right now.
But that's what I think about this issue. I know it's very frustrating. I've heard it loud and clear from all the great input we've gotten, where we're trying to react to the input, and we've changed plans along the way because, we didn't think we had public support for this approach, so we're trying something else. But Turlock is still the size of city where I think the problem can be handled pretty well, but because once you get to the size of Modesto, downtown Modesto, it's never gonna be something.
And let me this is the last thing
Yeah.
I'll leave it on, and I said it to the chief before in my last time up here. Enforcing does make a difference, because
It
what
does,
he's
yeah.
done so far
Yep.
has made a difference.
Yep.
We're seeing the difference because we see it on a daily basis there in Air Park.
Yep.
And it hasn't been a daily basis lately, which is good. And
Right.
whatever he's done has helped. So, and I'm sure that gets around with the homeless community. And for the people that really need the help, if this is only for veterans or seniors, well, what about people who aren't, that may actually need the help and really want the help, for whatever few amount of those people there are?
Mhm.
Great, let's get them the help. Everybody else that doesn't want to,
Yep.
time to go.
Yep.
So, all right.
Yeah, and it's even, anyway, I could go on and on because it's become my favorite topic, but I'll stop there.
All right, final, anybody who hasn't spoken? Hi.
Good evening. It is still evening, right?
Yeah, good morning.
All right. I'm Jeffrey Lewis, president of Legacy Health Endowment and the EMC Health Foundation. I want to speak to the elected officials. No offense, George. This is a great conversation, and
Just take a
Can you
second.
hold on, because I can't hear.
Can you, the audience, please, you guys, we gave you guys the opportunity to talk. Let him talk now, please. Thank you.
this is a great conversation. It's a long overdue conversation, and it's been going on with the city council for the 7 years that I've been in Turlock. It's not a new conversation. And every time the issue arises, there's a battle between the community, between elected officials, etc. And people refuse to make a decision. You have the opportunity tonight to make a decision. It's not an easy decision, but it's about leadership. We have 107 families in Turlock Unified School District who are homeless. It's couch surfing, living in hotels, living in their cars, etc. They could benefit from this housing if they were allowed to do so. But the underlying issue tonight is, what do we do? And when do we do it? Because the conversations have been going on for years, and people have refused to make decisions. One of the best things that happened to the city of Turlock is when they hired Regan Wilson. And he came forth with a plan. Now, you might not all like his plan, and clearly people in the audience don't like the plan, but a leader brings a plan to the table, and that's what he's done. That's his job as city manager. And your job is to agree or disagree. That's completely up to you, and that's what your voters allowed you to do when they elected you. And that is really the opportunity tonight, is to say to Turlock and to the future, this is a great idea. I worked in Newark long before John did with Mayor Cory Booker when he was a mayor. And the challenges in Newark that they've overcome are significant. And Cory Booker was an unbelievably great mayor. And what they're doing now to help Newark is extraordinary. And it's a step-by-step approach. This is a similar approach to consider. It's the first phase. The questions have been raised about what do we do with seniors. That's a state issue, and that's a federal issue. And both governments have failed to address senior housing. They've just ignored it for years. But if we can start incrementally, as we discussed the other day, if we can start incrementally and build from that, it's a possibility. It's not perfect. But Regan, thank you for doing this. Thank you very much.
All right, and then the other question I have, because I know it's on a lot of people's mind, but I didn't hear anybody ask it. That is, is there a scoring system to put people into these units? Can we give, what I'm getting at is, do Turlock people get preference? Because I hear it all over the room. Everybody's worried that people are gonna be bussed in and burn up more of Turlock's resources.
No, you control who comes in. The city controls the people that are in there. The VA will control the veterans that come in.
Okay, so let's talk about veterans. By the way, madam, thank you for your service. So we have to, let's just say it ends up being a yes vote and it's a 50-unit complex. We don't have enough unsheltered individuals to fill it. Then it goes to veterans, or then it goes to seniors, or vice versa. We can fill it with those other individuals.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's in the home key application.
That's correct.
Okay, so the federal government can't come back and tell us no later.
No.
Okay, all right.
Can I just interrupt?
Yes, please.
So is it specifically itemized, one, unsheltered who are clean and sober for a period of time, or can it be categorically, we're putting in seniors, veterans? I know there's veterans that sleep outside every day. And I'm 8 and 9 months at local places here, and they should be transitioned somewhere. They're not doing drugs.
No,
can you do it where we can do it any portion of it? And if it turns out that there are no unshelters that want to stay clean, then
we can do what we want to do with it at that point. Yes, but you set the stipulations for all the tenants, whether they're veterans or the VA has a strict guideline of what what the veterans have to follow. Everybody else is something different.
Okay, and then to Debbie Koftanaw's question, did she leave?
I think so.
Oh, darn it. Okay, so there's a difference, and Petrolakis, please correct me if I step on it here. There is a difference between emergency housing and transitional housing. Okay, folks? And under the federal lawsuits that Mr. Petrolakis keeps referring to, we have to have both. in order to have the enforcement element. And Debbie's right when she got up here tonight and she said that we're getting mixed messages from the city. That's 100% true, because when this first started, we thought the only thing we were going to need was emergency shelter. And then the lawsuits came, and then the TROs came. And you guys have heard me, those of you that come regularly, you've heard me say many times, the lawsuits are coming so quickly and they're changing so fast. The rules are changing in the middle of the night. And it's true. What she said is accurate. So now, as it sits today, in order to get to an enforcement model where we want to enforce it's two-faceted. We want to be able to enforce the quality of life standards for Turlock citizens, and we want to be able to help the people that want the help and give them a place to stay, that want the place to stay. But we've got to have both elements, the emergency low barrier and the transitional element. I hope everybody understands that in here tonight, because that's really what this is all about. And then the last question, lighting. Okay, so I'm concerned about Kelso's because their complaint is valid. All right, and I know, so the police department, Mr. Kelso knows the courtyard for the supposed, we keep evidence out there for our police department, that's getting raided in the middle of the night by our unsheltered individuals, just like Mr. Kelso's tow yard is. What can we do about the lighting around this place so that we can light it up?
Well, as long as the codes, the city codes, or we can light it up as much as you want to light it up. It's up to what your standards are. You know, it's up to you. You control that. You know, I don't know what the zoning there has to be specific. Obviously, I don't want to light it up so much that people are saying, "Hey, it's lit up like a stadium over there, and
Sure.
we can't sleep at night." So there's a fine line of obviously, lighting has to be enough so people can see where they're going and so on and so forth. But our high density cameras and stuff will pick up all the activity. If someone's leaving, going across and coming back, this, that, and the other thing, that'll all be picked up on cameras. As long as we can't go on other people's property and videotape, but we'll be able to videotape the entire complex that these folks are living in.
Okay, so that brings me to my last question. So I would like to think, and so my question for you is this. Have you seen the areas where you have put, because I know you've done many of these across the country, do you see the areas around these developments improve? Because what I would like to think is that putting this unit out there and having 24/7 on-site management and security and cameras and everything else will actually bring down the amount of problems that the city courtyard and Kelso's tow yard are having?
Right, because they don't lay on the park benches. They have their own place now, more or less.
And visitors?
Pardon me?
What about
Oh,
problematic
that's a good
visitors?
question.
Well, right. I mean, these folks, once they get into their complex, they're very protective of their area. As you said before, their pets, their personal effects, and so on and so forth. Once they get the counseling, the whole job is to get them moved up to jobs and so on and so forth. Not everybody's going to be a candidate for this because they need mental help, and this is not the place for them. Out of your 250 that you have, we're banking on 1 out of 4 is going to want to come in here. And that 1 out of 4 is the one we're trying to rehab. We're not going to be able to get all 250 at one time. Are there going to be some issues? Yeah. But that's why 24 hours a day, we got to maintain. We got to watch.
Vice Mayor?
With our application, we're doing vets and seniors. And now Mr. Lewis brings up the fact that there are over 130 families in the Turlock Union School District that are homeless. Can we put those people in these?
Yes. Yes, you can, because it goes by the door. It doesn't make a difference what they are. They're giving you so much per door. So it doesn't matter if they're veterans or whatever. It's the same amount.
But our application is only for vets and seniors, or specific to vets and seniors.
Right. But it's for 50 people, however you target them. 50 doors, or however you could have 50 veterans in there if you want to, 50 families if you want to. It's whatever you want to put in there.
Reagan?
Mayor, council members, I think what John's saying is that we've got 50 slots that we look at putting homeless, seniors, and vets as people become available. In addition, I would note that I'm also in discussions with another facility in Turlock that's specific to being seniors that I'll talk to the council about in a future date. So yes, we could put those 107 kids
And their mom,
in their
or
family,
dad,
their
with
mom,
single parent, yeah, right.
single parents into this facility. That's what we wanted to do.
I see.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you had more?
No more questions, just comments.
Knock yourself out.
Okay. $190,000 a unit is really pricey. And Mr. Bridegroom brings up a good point that $300 a foot is typical for a construction. So you're at $1,100 a foot. That's outrageous. 50 people. We're not given any kind of indication that we're going to fill it up. So we're going to spend $10 million and possibly not have 50 families in there. So a facility sits there at $10 million. Now, I understand it's not City of Turlock's money. It's coming from the Home Key and other programs, but it's still taxpayer money.
Well,
And one of my constituents brought up the fact that there is a distinct aroma on that area, and that you may not be able to get people to live there. I have had a lot of constituents who said, please don't do this, figure something else out, but I have not had one that said do this. So for me, I want to do something. We need to do something. Transitional housing needs to be done. But I just can't support this because my constituents say no. I really wanted to do something in conjunction with the County of Stanislaus, but they apparently don't want to entertain something like that. So I would still like to pursue doing something with the County of Stanislaus, because I feel like it's their responsibility, not just the City of Turlock. They get money, we don't. There's a lot of other things we could do with the $538,000 a year that it takes to continue this operation. We could do buyer assistance. We could do rental assistance. We can help in other ways. I just don't know that this is a great use of money. So that's my comment.
Councilor Rayburn?
Well, Mr. Glavin, thank you for being here. I know you said you've been traveling a lot. You've stood here for a long time. Can you first just answer, if we wanted to focus on families, how do you fit a family in a 20 by 7 space? Or how do you make this so people with small kids who, need space can survive in this?
Well, you can build one bedroom, you can build 2 bedrooms, you can put them together. Basically, they're Lego pieces. You can put one, which is real common right now. And to answer some of your questions, it's like you can change it from studio housing to all 1 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms. Home Key allows that. Allows it. You just have to have the plan going in as to what you want to do. They all don't have to be just studios for just one person. You can put a family of 4 in there and put 2 of them together, so 320 square feet becomes 640, more or less.
Certainly, but our application, we are applying with our plan, and right now the plan is presented as studios and 1 bedrooms, right? So how,
You could change it right up to the time during the Home Key plan will take 45 days to fill out the application during that time. Mm-hmm. It's not a process that only takes a day or 2. We take all the risk on our end because we have to do a lot of homework, and our team has to get together with your city to do a lot of legwork to find out how many you have, the numbers, and so on and so forth. Going back to what you're saying, will there be enough beds? Will there be extra beds? Well, there's more homeless veterans in California than any other state. Trust me, the VA has already informed us, if you got extra spots, we want them, because we have enough room to fill them, and they'll pay for the mass vouchers.
Sure, and because when, I saw the intention of putting this toward homeless veterans and homeless seniors, which is a laudable goal, our home ARP study from a month ago, rather, says that only 5% of our population in Turlock are homeless vets, and only 30% of our population is over 55. So, we're gonna have to expand who can be in this facility, and I would like to explore the idea of having, if this happens, having larger units so people can comfortably have their children with them. I think in terms of thinking of facts, I read through the home key application, the notice of funding, because I think to me it's really important that we know what the stipulations are. And I think that for the purposes of this discussion, that, on page 43 of it, it says projects shall accept tenants and participants regardless of sobriety, participation in services or treatments, history of incarceration. We can't, and on page 20, I'm not going to quote it here, but, we can't say that people have to leave because they're not participating in services, or if they're not meeting their sobriety. So I appreciate your perspective on what the other projects have done, but this is what Home Key is saying. I have every faith that you can build a great facility. I've checked out your website. I've looked at your social media. But I cringe a little bit at the price, because I want to make sure that if we have this, which we need this, to Mr. Petrolakis's point, that we're making the biggest impact for the populations that we have. I'm not categorically opposed to transitional housing, but I have a hard time with this plan, with the cost, with the amount of people that we can house in this plan. So I appreciate your perspective. I really, really appreciate everybody coming out and participating in this.
One of the things I was going to remind you when you talk about the cost, we don't set the cost. This state sets the cost.
Certainly, but in the application for the grant, it says that you're going to get $150,000 per door, or $250,000 per door if you're going to be servicing chronically homeless. But there's extra points in the grant if you can take that cost down. So, I would like to see us move into that realm.
Mm-hmm. I also agree we absolutely need to have something like this. I about choked when I saw the dollar per square foot. I mean, it's like the $1.7 million toilet in San Francisco. To me, it is, it's not the city of Turlock's money, but it's taxpayer money. My 5 minutes of research in the last couple of days, we could buy 25 travel trailers, $25,000 a piece. We could buy single wide mobile homes that for $85,000 a piece. I can't justify this kind of price tag. I mean, I know we have to do something, but I personally feel like I've got a gun to my head because we got to get this done by the end of April, and I'm not gonna waste $10 million of taxpayer money because we got a gun to our head.
Okay. My feeling is the community has over told us, do something. You're not doing anything. Don't you see it? It's kind of like roads. Don't you see the potholes? Don't you see that? We don't want the homeless people here. And I will guarantee you that 99% of the homeless are not going to want help. That we're talking about we're gonna put them there, but they're not. They're not going to do it. We did 400 people during COVID, and only 2 wanted help. The odds are that we're not going to help them, but we could make a gesture and then actually help those people who are one paycheck away and then are the veterans, the seniors, we can still make an effort. This money is not something that I enjoy spending. I believe we did nothing for many years. We have no proof of anything, but here's something where we can say, okay, we're going to say we're going to help homeless. We all know we're not going to help homeless because homeless won't help themselves. But we'll leave them a little, four little rooms and see what happens, and help the single moms, help the veterans. There's a gentleman out here every day, and he's a veteran. He's not on drugs, not on alcohol. He shouldn't still be staying down the street. That man should be able to move on. There's something wrong with what we're doing. I don't want to spend taxpayers' money, but this is what the feds and the state are putting there, and they'll just take it and go put it somewhere else. If we can help somebody, if we can physically help our young families, some seniors and some veterans, I'm good. But that's just me. It doesn't sound like it's going to pass, but I do want to help.
I do too. And every time I have a conversation with Dr. Lewis back there, the conversation we always end up at is, he says, Rebecca, what about the family that is one paycheck away from being homeless, right? We can configure these units to put families in them. We can configure the Lego pieces any way we want to. Sure. We have been sitting here for 7 years, even before I was on the council, having this conversation, right? You guys heard it tonight. We had a long dialogue over the benches downtown that is caused by the underlying element that people classify as our unsheltered folks. You guys, everybody wants that to get fixed. This is part of fixing that. Okay, yeah, it's a $7.5 million price tag. Somebody has to bite the bullet. Somebody's got to stand up, Dr. Lewis, and be a leader and say, we're going to make a decision and do something. And at the end of the day, what it's really about is none of us get to stand here and judge the homeless people ahead of time and say they don't want to come in and get help, because none of us have walked 1 mile in their shoes. And if somebody wants help and if somebody wants a place to live, they need to have the opportunity, and we need to be providing it to them.
I would agree, but I don't think we got to spend $10 million to do it.
You got a better idea? I'm all ears.
Yeah. It's, I think you could do a lot more with $3 million for a lot more people, but obviously we don't have time in 3 weeks. But that's just me.
No, and Kevin, I understand that, and I respect your comments immensely, but the other problem is, so where are you going to put it? Right? Where's it going to go in the city? Nobody wants it. The one thing that it's on everybody's mind in the room, but nobody will come up and say it out loud, is not in my backyard, right? So now Mr. Kelso's here tonight because we're opting to put it in his backyard. Right? But if it was, come on, somebody stand up and admit that, yeah, if it was going a block from your house, you wouldn't oppose it. I'm just being real. We got to help these people at some point, somewhere in the process. We can't just keep classifying them as homeless people. They're people. They're part of the fabric of our town. They're part of what makes Turlock. I'm done. Sorry.
I'm not arguing the need. Absolutely not arguing the need. I'm arguing you're talking $10 million that 6 of it could be used for lots of other things too. And granted, that's not how the money's doled out, but somebody's got to hold somebody accountable. Just because it's there. That's just.
So am I missing it on what the home key money can be spent for?
No, you can spend it for homeless families and so on and so forth. You can adjust what you want. You can put them all 2-bedroom units if you like to, for families only.
How does the cost change then?
Sorry.
Yeah. It still goes $150,000 per door.
Well, but that's what they will give us for the grant. But how does your construction cost change if we want to make bigger units, have more, family-oriented, larger use?
It doesn't change. It doesn't change. We still got to connect to wet, dry utilities and so on. It still has to go by your codes, the California codes. There's a lot of restrictions in California. There's got to be a certain amount of parking spots for these folks, all kinds of stuff. for how they,
Don't even
fire,
have
roll,
cars.
just the sprinkler system alone in California are outrageous. And they try to convert hotels, and those figures have gone through the roof, and they can't complete them. They can't complete those jobs with Home Key. That's why they're setting the price standards, and they're pricing it as the same as San Francisco or LA or whatever. You just happen to be in a lesser zone here, but you can build, it doesn't cost us any more. We have to stay within that $150,000 a door, no matter if we build a 2-bedroom one or a 3-bedroom one.
So the door is the key?
The door is the key. That's how they set it up. We didn't make the rules.
It's a government, Kevin.
Yeah.
Well, it's,
But if,
I'm tired of saying this.
Right.
Vice Mayor?
You're the government now.
All right, let Vice Mayor speak.
Yeah, I just want to be able to ensure that if we did this, that we would help families, such as the Turlock Union School District families. Now, those are people that obviously have a hard time finding housing. They're probably couch surfing because they're not in the shelters. How do we help those folks with this? Can we ensure that we will have enough space in this community to be able to help those folks? Because really, to me, kids are most important, and then seniors and vets. And then the transitional, I understand we want to take care of them too, but kids are going to come first in my book. If we're going to help kids, then I have a different opinion.
we can put families in there. I can get together with Mr. Wilson, and if you want to change the plans and say, hey, over the next 2 weeks, let's put so many family housing in there for children, women and children, that's fine. We can do it. We can do whatever. It's $150,000 a door. That's what they give us. Doesn't make a difference if it's a veteran, homeless family, whatever. It's whatever you folks feel that you need to have. Your call. You're the partners in this thing.
I just wish we could do it for a lot less because I still have a real hard time with $10 million.
Right. And it's like, I understand that, but it's like I don't set the rules. I just follow them.
And so just to be clear tonight, Mr. Wilson, what we're deciding on is moving forward with you negotiating with CC 915 about the land so they can apply to Home Key. Because we have time to set our intentions for who should be the recipient of this, what the facility size would be, et cetera.
Yes.
He's a man of few words. Him and Harry hang out together. You guys go to school?
No, the one word suffices. I got it.
Okay.
You went 3 words, you're going to have to go out to Harry. Well, what's the will of council then?
I would like to see what we can do with this. I hear the public and their concerns. I share some of those concerns. I share the concern about the price, but I will move to approve so we can see if we can go forward on this.
I will second her motion, just so we're clear and I'm clear. We set the parameters on these Lego pieces. We're going to tell you we want this many for families, this many single doors, this many double doors, whatever it is, we're going to tell you what those parameters are.
That's correct.
You good with that? Okay. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Wilson, you understand your charge of this motion and second then, if it passes? Watch, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
2 words.
Ma'am, 2 words.
All right, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram.
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel.
No.
Vice Mayor Franco.
No.
Councilmember Moniz.
Yes.
Mayor Bublak.
Yes. It passes 3-2. It'll come back anyway, so you guys can see if we change our vote or you bring yours around. Who knows?